Hello, I'm Reese Bailey, representing Aesthetics by P. Brown. During part one, I will give you an overview of our 12-part personal financial management class. The process for personal financial management is to develop a personal financial plan strategy. And I'll go in more in depth in a later series. You want to define your financial goals in terms of your money, your personal relationship with your money, how you use it. You want to consider utility as well as cost. What is it accomplishing and how much cost, including late fees and interest, is it costing you to use your money? You want to examine your values to understand what is important to you and how it's going to benefit your family. And you want to develop a relationship with your money to ensure that you're using it wisely and for the most benefit, getting the most out of it. The reason for that is we have to use our youth to prepare for our older years. Here is a earnings life cycle graph. And as you can see, the blue line on the graph represents wages you'll make throughout your lifetime from the day you're born, and it drops off in a steady decline when you get around late 60s, early 70s. The red line on this graph represents the living expenses you will incur. And you will see that most people start to have some earnings when they're about 10 years old. And it goes up steeply as we gain knowledge, skills, and experience and learn how to generate funds. It sort of starts to taper off a little bit in your 20s and 30s, and it has another pretty steep climb in general on average for people when you hit your 30s. You're gonna always reach a plateau, and the average here in the United States for that plateau is about 40 years old. And that plateau means this is the time in your life when you're going to make the most money that you'll ever make, and it won't last forever. So you can see you hit the plateau at about 40, and then about mid 60s you reach a steep decline, because that's when most people either voluntarily or they are forced to retire because of uh, the job market or because of health reasons or whatever. But you're going to go off that cliff in your 60s usually, and you start to decline in your earnings, or your earnings will drop altogether. Just the basic things such as Social Security, if you're very lucky, and maybe minimal earnings. It won't be anything like the plateau, but you can notice that the expenses doesn't follow that trend. Your expenses elevate when you get to be about 10 years old, and most of the time someone else is paying for those expenses. At about age 20, they plateau a little bit. In about age 30, you usually get your raises and your promotions, and your living expenses goes up because you got to do more and be in more different places. And then these expenses gradually decline, usually because you're going to make less money, but you start really to just be able to experience the basics in spending, and your life cycle, your living style usually declines to some extent. So that's why it's important to use your younger years to generate as much wealth and earnings as possible, and to prepare yourself as much as possible for the latter years, so that you can try and maintain a comfortable lifestyle and living experience as you grow older, and you'll have enough money and savings, hopefully, to sustain you throughout the rest of your life. And I know we all intend to get 90 or 100 years old. Benefits of planning: your money works more efficiently when you plan out your money. If you're going around not using a budget and just spending and living paycheck to paycheck, day to day, and most people are experiencing some difficulty in ensuring that the money uh, serve its full purpose and last the entire period that they needed to do so. And I have an analogy that when you're trying to live and use your money without a budget, it's like driving at night when it's pitch dark. You're driving very fast with your lights out. You don't know where you're going. You don't know what the obstacles are, and it's not going to be a good experience in the end. Something that's going to happen when you're spending money and going through life without using a budget. So, a budget is going to be a centerpiece of what we're going to be talking about. You want to learn how to utilize your money through the wonder of compounding. So, if you have any sort of savings, then that savings will compound the interest. And I have a chart that'll show how compounding works. And if you make a deposit in a savings or some sort of investment in stocks and leave it there, the interest is usually going to go along with the principal to cause your savings to grow very quickly. So you want to start as early as possible in life savings. You also want to eliminate high interest debt. Everybody probably practice that strategy. When you have a lot of debt, you want to figure out which one is the highest interest of debt, and you want to pay off the high interest debt first and then use that savings after it's paid off to pay off the lower interest debt until you become debt free, hopefully. You want to avoid paying late fees, overdrafts, and service charges, and that's one trap that people usually forget to budget for. When you go to the ATM and pull out some money, usually people put the money on their budget that they pull out of the ATM, but not the fees that they eventually are going to have to pay, and that sometimes causes an overdraft. So compounding, you have to get used to and start to really become familiar and utilize that concept. You can do your budgeting very easily. I have in the 12th part of this series, I have some instruction on how you can utilize free budgets that you will find in Microsoft Excel, in the templates on Microsoft Excel, and I'll show you how to get to those and to utilize those. This is one of those budgets. Here you can use this budget to prepare and to monitor your retirement preparation. This is your retirement saving calculator, and it's a completely formatted budget that'll allow you to plug in your age to determine how old you think you might be when you decide to retire. So your current age, your retirement age, how much you're investing initially, what percent are you going to be receiving on return on investment, and getting that compounded 6% every month or annually, and then what your annual payment might be and how many years you're going to be saving. Because if you're 35 and you want to retire at 58, then 15 years or so, that's how long you're going to be saving that money. And so that's the inputs, and then the outputs you can also calculate to come up with a balance for any number of years, for whatever year you want and whatever age you want to determine. You'll see what's happening so that you can continually make improvement and adjustments as life goes on by using this calculator. Here is an example of how compounding works. If you are starting this year zero, and you want to deposit $10,000 in some sort of investment or savings vehicle, and you expect to get that 8% interest, and all you have to do is leave that $1,000 in there for about 40 years, and you're going to have $21,725, because every month the interest, that 8% interest on that $10,000, will compound, and you'll start to draw interest off the interest, and that's how compounding works. You need to develop a savings budget to implement your strategy. We should always start saving as early as possible. And in the meantime, we have to also establish an emergency fund so that you don't have to touch your savings. So you'll do a little savings program to establish that emergency fund, maybe 5% of your income or whatever, and you could save 2 to 5% or even more of your income in your regular retirement savings account. You want to define what your financial goals are. You know, what do you want to use this money for? How much you determine from the calculator that you want to have at a certain age, and so forth. You have to really talk through that process and set those goals. Consider the utility. How much are you going to get on investment? How much is it going to cost you? Some people are selling plans. For instance, some insurance companies will sell you plans, growth plans for your kids, but you can pretty quickly figure out if you use that calculator that we just viewed, that if you say put that amount of money in a savings account for your child and get the interest off that savings account, you will have a lot more money than you would if you were paying into some sort of a insurance policy or annuity. Uh, but so you just have to figure out how much the service charges on those sorts of instruments would be if you choose to use those. Examine your values and understand the importance of your savings and your budget to yourself and your family so that you can get come into the light, turn on the lights while you're driving this budget process, and really know where you're going, how long it's going to take you to get there, and so forth. Develop that great relationship with your money. That's a must. And for access to those budgets that I talked about, they're located in the Microsoft Office suite. They are templates from the Microsoft Excel application software. And if you don't have a computer and that sort of equipment, you can always have access to those through public libraries, and maybe some community colleges have public access machines for you. Uh, just about any friend, family, you get your jump drive, you can maintain and have your budgets and so forth with you all along the way. That concludes this tutorial. Thank you very much. Have a good day.